Hi everyone, my name's Matt and this is my current PC. It's a pretty typical high-end build from a few years ago with an i9-12900K and an RTX 3080. I use it for video editing, gaming, and a number of other applications. For editing, it's still working great and I have no complaints, but the RTX 3080 is starting to fall a little behind. Plus, I'm kinda getting tired of having a big mid-tower ATX build. Because most of the parts are still working fine for my needs, I'd ideally keep as many as I can. So I decided to try and downsize my PC while upgrading my gaming experience and not having to switch out too many components. There's a case I've had my eye on for a really long time now called the Cerberus X from Sliger that is an ultra compact chassis that can fit full ATX builds. But unfortunately it's been discontinued, and even if it wasn't, the $250 MSRP is a fair bit more than what I would like to spend on a case. I looked at other options like the Mechanic Master C34, but these were a fair bit bigger and still very expensive. I kinda gave up hope on finding what I was looking for, that is until I stumbled upon this Reddit post here. This post shows off a sub 20 liter ATX PC case that was very reminiscent of the Cerberus X. Now this is a 3D printed case called the Beam case, but it uses a combination of 3D printed parts and extruded aluminum to create a stronger and more durable end product. I'd been waiting a very long time to pick a case, but within an hour or two of finding this design, I paid the $17 for the files, ordered the required hardware, and started printing parts. I printed all the parts out of ABS and PETG on my X1C that I'll be talking about more later, as Bamboo Labs was kind enough to sponsor this video. For the main part of the frame, I really only needed to print 9 or 10 pieces, and these would be combined with these 6 300mm aluminum extrusions. These are called maker beams, and they'll be linked in the description along with everything else mentioned in this video. They're kinda pricey at about $5 a pop, but I figured it was best to use exactly what the instructions called for versus using generic extrusions. To prep the 3D printed parts, I had to use a pair of pliers to press fit in a bunch of M3 bolts like this, and some of which I had to screw in to help recess them further down. The back I/O panel comprises of 2 parts that slot together, then are fixed to one another with 8 screws. Then I could add the first of the 3 motherboard mounts and attach a few nuts and screws to each end. The first 2 pieces of aluminum slipped over the nuts, then the 2 other motherboard mounts slid in, and the aluminum was tightened down, securing it to the back panel. Then, using the spacer, I lined up and tightened down these 3 motherboard mounting pieces. Then I attached 2 more beams, running parallel to the first 2, and could just continue attaching pieces until I was left with this, a basic frame that all the parts would mount to. While there are still a bunch of parts to complete the case, those would go on after the PC components were installed, so it was time to turn my attention to my old system. Taking off the side panel, I first went ahead and removed my GPU, which again is a Founders Edition 3080, which has served me well for a number of years. Then I could unplug all of the power, fan, and front panel connections to the motherboard and pull out the board itself. And that was it for the old system. I'm not reusing the case, and I need to switch to a smaller SFX power supply, so I also wouldn't be reusing my old one. Then the old case was out of the way and I could bring my attention to the motherboard, which I would be reusing pretty much everything on this board. I removed the cooler as a thermal paste change was a good idea, which also gives us a closer look at the CPU, which again is an i9-12900K, and also the contact plate I originally installed that replaces the original socket mount. In terms of other parts, I'm also using 64 gigs of 3600 MHz DDR4 memory. 64 gigs for me seems like enough for editing. If I upgraded to AM5 at some point, I may go to 96, but again, for now 64 works great. Pulling off the top M.2 heatsink reveals my 2TB WD Black SN770 that I use for my boot drive, and under the big one, I've got a 1TB Solidigm P44 Pro that all my project files live on. At this point, I also added in another 500GB drive, which some of you will be pleased to hear that I'll be installing and trying a desktop version of Linux on it. I'm not sure if I'll be making a Linux challenge video unless a ton of you want to see that, but I do want your recommendations for distros as I want something basic, well supported, and easy to use, so let me know what distro you guys recommend in the comments below. With the heatsink back on, it was time to install the cooler, and I actually decided to use a Thermalright Peerless Assassin that I had on hand as it should work a little better for this build. Now that the cooler is attached, I could lower the board into the frame and attach it with a bunch of screws, and now you can see just how much room in the case an ATX board takes up, and that there is basically zero wasted space. Then I could install the SFX power supply that goes at the front of the case right here, attaching it with 4 screws. Then I could plug in and route each of the power cables. I'm using a 750 watt Seasonic unit that's 80 plus platinum rated. Next, the final main component was ready to go in, which is the GPU. So what did I pick to replace my 3080? Well, a few months back I snagged a 9070 XT for around 660 bucks new and decided this would be the perfect card for this build. It would give me a chance to see how an AMD card works in my normal Windows workflow and make it easier for me to try out Linux. All of this while giving me a good boost in gaming performance. This plugs in like normal and is secured with a cover piece and a few more screws, and with that, all the main components were in, but there were still a bunch of parts to add to the case itself. Now, you may notice in the channels of the aluminum there are a bunch of little silver dots, and those are nuts that other parts will attach to. Most are square ones with 3D printed adapters, and some are just regular M3 nuts. So I just started to attach a bunch of the extra 3D printed parts to those, which you'll be able to see a few getting installed right now. All these pieces again were printed in ABS and PETG using the X1C from the sponsor of today's video, Bamboo Labs. This printer has been amazing, having no trouble printing all the parts for this project. Bamboo Labs makes printers that just work. Setup is extremely quick and easy. It does all the calibration and leveling itself, meaning you get to focus on bringing your ideas to life and not tinkering with the printer. I have the X1C with the AMS system, which can be used for printing with multiple materials or colors in a single print. Now, the X1C is definitely one of Bamboo Labs' more high-end printers, but they have options like the A1 and A1 Mini, which are great entry points into the world of 3D printing. And if you don't care about printing in materials like ABS or ASA, then the A1 is an awesome option, bringing you all the Bamboo Labs quality of life features at a more affordable price. Thanks again to Bamboo Labs for sponsoring this video, and if you're interested in picking up one of their printers, all of them linked in the description below. So let's quickly go over all the extra pieces I added. I added this front cross brace along with this corner bracket to add a little extra structural stability to the case. I added 2 120mm fans and fan mounts to the bottom of the case for intake, along with one at the top of the case for exhaust. The fourth fan I added was at the back as an intake that, combined with a spacer and shroud, directs plenty of fresh air directly into the CPU cooler. Also, I did add feet so the bottom fans aren't suffocating. You also may have noticed this weird piece in the center, which is used to secure the 4 side panels. This case requires 12 panels to enclose it, and I decided to print the bottom ones in black and the top ones in white. These are kind of a pain in the butt to install because you have to make sure the nuts are perfectly aligned before trying to attach the panels. Putting on the front, top, and back panels took around 20 minutes, but thankfully this isn't something I'll be needing to do very much. And here's what it looks like with all but the side panels, which I think it looks pretty cool, and now I can finally throw on the final 4 panels to complete the build, which overall I think looks unique and minimal. Also, compared to my previous case, it's quite small while still housing full ATX components. Now, there are some definite downsides to this case, and I'll be talking about those along with how much this all costs, but first let's talk briefly about performance. Now, the reality is this machine's most played games will probably be easy to run titles like Slay the Spire 2 when that comes out, but there are a few AAA games that I'm wanting to play in the near future. The first is The Last of Us Part 2, which I tested at ultra-wide 1440p with the highest preset and no upscaling. Playing a random part of the game, I saw the FPS stay right around 100 with pretty good 1% lows, which is plenty of performance for me in a game like this. Next is Elden Ring, which I've played through but want to play the DLC at some point. I set both the graphics and ray tracing settings to max. At first it was doing ultra-wide 1440p, but then forced to regular 1440p for some reason. Running around, I saw the average stay at the locked 60 FPS and the 1% lows at around 52, which again is pretty good performance. Finally, I decided it's now time to actually do a playthrough of Cyberpunk. Loading into the game at ultra-wide 1440p, using the RT Ultra preset and driving around fast, I saw an average of 75 FPS with 1% lows of 50. It's good to see the system can pretty much max out most titles I'm wanting to play, meaning I can always go down to high or medium settings if I want to have more FPS. Temperature-wise, the CPU and GPU were great while gaming, but more importantly, let's look at CPU temps under a heavy load. Running the Cinebench all-core test for 15 minutes, I saw the CPU max out at about 85 degrees, which doesn't sound amazing, but for a 12900K with a $35 cooler on it, it's actually incredible performance. which shows that this back intake / shroud and top exhaust setup is working exactly as intended. And with that, my build is complete, at least for the next year or so. I really like the design of this case and how compact it is while still holding ATX parts, but it's far from perfect. First off, it does require a printer and is a bit of an endeavor to print and assemble everything. There's a pretty good instructional video by the creator of this case, but there's not really any good documentation like what I've seen other paid case designs have, at least not any that I've seen. Also, depending on what configuration and add-ons you're going with, it's hard to tell how many nuts and screws you're going to need, and especially how many of each size. I think I ended up using around 75 screws and 75 nuts, which is definitely more than I thought I would need going into this. Also, because this case is so airflow focused and there aren't any filters, it means dust will be a bigger problem. The power button and power supply extensions are routed to the back, but another downside of this case is that there's not any front panel I/O. I may grab something like this to take advantage of those front panel ports, but that's another extra cost to keep in mind. So how much did this case end up costing in materials? Well, filament wise, I think I used around 3/4 of a spool, so about $12 worth. The aluminum was $30 for the 6 pieces. The hardware like screws and bolts were probably around $15 to $20 to get everything I needed. The power button and power supply extensions were around $15, and finally the case files were $17. So all in, the case cost me around $90 to $100, which might seem pricey to some, but is actually a pretty good price compared to a lot of small form factor cases. And while there's obviously the cost of your time, if you're like me, you'll probably find building a case like this pretty fun. If you are interested in a case like this, I can recommend the Beam case, which also has micro ATX and ITX versions, but again, be warned, it does take a fair bit of time to assemble, and it might end up being a tiny bit frustrating as order of operation is pretty important. So yeah guys, that's the build. I was able to downsize my PC while upgrading my gaming performance and being able to reuse most of my parts. With that being said, I'm interested to hear what you guys think of this build. Would you consider using a 3D printed case like this one? Let me know. Also, give me your recommendations on Linux distros, and if you'd be interested in a Linux challenge video. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, consider subscribing, and as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.